Welcome to Listen and Speak English Stories Podcast, the channel where you learn English through powerful stories that improve your listening and speaking. Today's story is called The New Beginning. Once upon a time in a small but busy town, there lived a young man named Daniel. Daniel was 24 years old, full of dreams but also full of doubts. Every morning he walked through the noisy streets, passing shops, schools, and offices, wondering what his future would look like. Daniel had always wanted to speak English fluently. He knew that speaking English could open new doors, better jobs, international friends, and even the chance to travel abroad. But he often felt nervous and shy when he tried to speak. His voice would shake, and sometimes he would stop in the middle of a sentence, afraid of making mistakes. One day, while sitting at a small cafe with his notebook, Daniel wrote in big letters, "This year I will change. This year, I will learn English with confidence." He smiled at the words. For the first time he felt a spark of hope. It was the beginning of something new, a journey that could transform his life. And so, Daniel decided that every single day he would listen to English stories, repeat the sentences, and practice speaking, even if he was alone. He whispered to himself, "Step by step I will grow. One day I will speak English clearly and confidently." The next morning, Daniel woke up earlier than usual. The sun had just risen, painting the sky in soft shades of orange and gold. He sat on his small wooden desk, opened his notebook, and began his first real English practice session. At first, the words felt heavy in his mouth. Some sounded strange, others too difficult. He repeated them again and again, sometimes whispering, sometimes speaking louder, until his throat felt dry. In the beginning it was not easy. He felt like a child learning to speak for the first time. He often stopped, confused by the difference between the sounds he heard and the sounds he produced. Yet he kept going. Later that day he decided to test his courage. At the cafe where he usually spent his afternoons, Daniel noticed a tourist couple sitting at the corner table. They were looking at the menu with puzzled expressions, struggling to understand the local language. Daniel's heart began to race. This is my chance, he thought. He walked over slowly, each step heavy with doubt. His mind screamed, "What if I make a mistake? What if they laugh at me?" But then he remembered the words he had written the night before, "This year I will change." Taking a deep breath, he said in English, "Hello, do you need some help?" The couple looked up, surprised but relieved. "Oh yes, please. We can't understand the menu," the woman replied with a smile. Daniel felt his cheeks turn red, but he continued. Slowly, carefully, he explained the dishes in English. Sometimes he searched for words, sometimes he used his hands to describe. The couple listened patiently, nodding with gratitude. When he finished, they said warmly, "Thank you so much, you speak English very well." Daniel's heart jumped with joy. He knew he had made mistakes, but their kindness gave him courage. That night, back in his room, he wrote in his notebook again, "Today I spoke English to real people. I was afraid but I did it. Tomorrow I will try again." For the first time, Daniel truly believed that his dream was possible. The next morning, Daniel woke up earlier than usual. The soft golden light of dawn entered through his window, and he felt an unusual excitement in his heart. He decided to explore a small path near his grandmother's house that he had never noticed before. The path was narrow, covered with dry leaves, and surrounded by tall trees whose branches almost touched each other, forming a natural tunnel. Every step he took made the ground crackle under his shoes, and the air carried a mixture of earth, flowers, and mystery. After a few minutes, Daniel discovered an old wooden gate hidden behind the bushes. It looked forgotten, covered with ivy and moss, as if time itself had abandoned it. His curiosity grew stronger. With effort, he pushed the gate, and it opened with a loud creak. On the other side, Daniel's eyes widened in wonder. He had just found a secret garden. The garden was vast, filled with wildflowers of every color, butterflies flying around, and a fountain in the center that still flowed with crystal-clear water. Daniel felt as if he had entered another world, a place where time slowed down and beauty reigned everywhere. Birds sang harmoniously, and a soft breeze made the flowers dance. He sat near the fountain and listened carefully. Somewhere in the distance, he thought he heard faint laughter, like the echo of children playing long ago, The sound gave him goosebumps, but it wasn't scary. It felt magical, as if the garden had a soul and was whispering stories to him. Daniel returned to the hidden garden every afternoon. Each time he discovered something new that made the place even more magical. One day, as he leaned closer to the fountain, he noticed strange symbols carved into the stone. They looked like old letters, unfamiliar and mysterious, almost like a secret code. He traced them with his fingers and felt a sudden warmth, as if the fountain itself was alive. The sound of the water seemed to change, becoming softer, almost like a melody. Curious, Daniel closed his eyes and listened carefully. The melody transformed into words, words that whispered directly into his heart. The one who listens with kindness will see what others cannot. Startled, he opened his eyes, but no one was around. The garden was silent, except for the birds and the running water. He wondered if he had imagined it, but deep inside he knew the fountain had spoken to him. Over the following days, Daniel tried to understand the meaning of those words. He began to watch everything around him more attentively. The way the flowers opened at sunrise, the way butterflies danced in the air, the way the wind carried scents of jasmine and roses. The more he observed, the more alive the garden felt. It was as if every leaf, every drop of water, every ray of light carried a secret message. One evening, just before sunset, the fountain glowed with a soft golden light. Daniel approached slowly, his heart beating fast. Suddenly, the reflection in the water changed. Instead of his own face, he saw images. A young girl picking flowers, an old man reading under a tree, children laughing as they ran across the grass. These were not memories of his own life, but visions of people who had once visited the garden. Daniel understood then, the garden was not just a beautiful hidden place. It was a keeper of stories, a living memory of all those who had loved, dreamed, and played there. The fountain was the heart of it all, guarding the voices and dreams of generations. For the first time, Daniel felt he was part of something bigger than himself. He touched the water gently, and it sparkled under his fingers. The garden had accepted him. As the sun began to set, Daniel left the hidden garden with a sense of wonder still lingering in his heart. The streets were quieter now, bathed in the soft orange glow of the evening light. He walked slowly, savoring every moment and thinking about the day he had spent exploring, observing, and learning. His notebook was full of notes, sketches, and thoughts about the garden, the fountain, and the mysterious whispers he had heard. Daniel sat on a bench near the park, opened his notebook, and began writing. He described everything he had seen: the colors of the flowers, the patterns of light on the ground, the fluttering of butterflies, and the calm sound of the fountain. He wrote not just about what he saw, but about what he felt, the sense of peace, curiosity, and connection with a world larger than himself. As he wrote, Daniel noticed people around him finishing their evening routines. Couples walked hand in hand, laughing softly. Children chased each other across the park, their joyful voices echoing in the quiet streets. Elderly men and women strolled slowly, enjoying the last warmth of the day. Every detail seemed meaningful, and Daniel captured it all in his notebook, realizing that every ordinary moment could hold an extraordinary story. The sky turned a deep shade of purple, and the first stars began to appear. Daniel looked up and thought about the lessons he had learned. Listening carefully, observing closely, and paying attention to small details could reveal stories hidden in everyday life. He felt inspired to continue practicing English, knowing that every word he learned and every story he heard brought him closer to fluency. Before heading home, Daniel wrote a final reflection in his notebook. Every day is full of stories waiting to be noticed. I have learned to see, to listen, and to connect. Tomorrow will bring new adventures, and I will be ready to discover them. As he walked home, the soft glow of streetlights guided his path. He felt a growing excitement for the future, confident that with persistence, curiosity, and courage, he could achieve his dreams and improve his English every day. Daniel returned home as the night wrapped the city in quiet darkness. The streets were calm, lit only by the gentle glow of streetlights, and the cool evening breeze carried the faint scent of flowers and freshly cut grass. He felt tired but happy, his heart full of excitement from the day's discoveries. In his room, Daniel placed his notebook on the desk and sat by the window, looking at the starry sky. The memories of the hidden garden, the fountain, and the whispers of stories filled his mind. He smiled, realizing how much he had learned, not just about English but about paying attention, observing, and connecting with the world around him. As he prepared for bed, he thought about the people he had seen that day, the tourists he had helped, the children playing in the park, and even the imagined visitors of the garden that the fountain had revealed to him. Every one of them had a story, and Daniel felt inspired to continue collecting and sharing stories in his own way. Lying under his blanket, he closed his eyes and imagined new adventures. In his dreams, he wandered through unknown streets, discovered secret gardens, met people with fascinating stories, and practiced English in every conversation. Each dream felt real, like a continuation of the day's journey, and each one taught him new words, new expressions, and new ways to communicate. His dreams were filled with endless possibilities. He could see himself speaking English confidently, sharing stories with friends from around the world, and exploring places he had only imagined. The hidden garden, the fountain, and all the small moments of his day became symbols of growth, curiosity, and courage. Daniel slept peacefully, knowing that learning English and discovering stories was a journey without end. Every tomorrow promised new experiences, new people, and new lessons. And in that quiet night, surrounded by dreams and possibilities, he realized that the world was full of stories waiting to be heard, and that he was ready to listen. The next morning, Daniel woke up feeling a mix of excitement and curiosity. The events of the previous days, the hidden garden, the mysterious fountain, and the lessons he had learned, were still fresh in his mind. He wanted to continue exploring, to find new stories, and to practice his English by interacting with the world around him. As he walked through the streets of the town, he noticed a small bookshop he had never seen before. The sign above the door read, "Stories Around the World." Daniel felt drawn to it immediately. He stepped inside, and the smell of old paper and ink filled his senses. Shelves upon shelves were stacked with books of every size, color, and language. The shop seemed to stretch endlessly, like a labyrinth of stories waiting to be discovered. A friendly shopkeeper, an elderly woman with twinkling eyes, approached Daniel. "Good morning. Are you looking for a story today?" she asked in English. Daniel felt his heart race. This was his chance to practice speaking again. He smiled and replied, "Yes, I want to read stories and improve my English." The woman nodded and guided him to a section filled with short stories perfect for learners. Daniel picked up a book and began reading aloud, carefully pronouncing each word. As he read, a young boy sitting nearby looked up curiously. The boy had been struggling with reading in English as well, and Daniel decided to invite him to read together. For the next hour, they took turns reading, correcting each other gently, and sharing their thoughts about the story. Daniel felt a sense of pride and joy. He was not only practicing his English but also helping someone else. The shop became a small world of learning and connection, filled with laughter, mistakes, corrections, and encouragement. Before leaving, the shopkeeper handed Daniel a small notebook. "For your own stories," she said. "Keep writing and you will grow every day." Daniel thanked her, his heart full of gratitude. Outside, the town seemed brighter, the air lighter, and every person he passed felt like a character in a story waiting to be told. That evening, Daniel sat on a bench in the park. He opened the notebook from the shop and began writing about the day, the boy he had met, the new words he had learned, and the feeling of confidence growing inside him. He realized that learning English was not only about words or grammar, it was about experiences, connections, and courage. Daniel smiled as the sun set, knowing that the world was full of unexpected encounters and new adventures. Each day brought opportunities to practice, learn, and grow, and he was ready to embrace them all. Thank you for listening to Easy English Story, Learn English Listening and Speaking on Listen and Speak English Stories podcast. Through Daniel's journey, we saw how curiosity, courage, and daily practice can transform not only your English skills but also your perspective on life. From helping tourists at the cafe, discovering the hidden garden, listening to the whispers of the fountain, and meeting new friends at the bookshop, Daniel learned that every day is full of stories waiting to be noticed, experienced, and shared. Learning English is more than memorizing words or grammar rules. It's about observing, listening, and connecting. Daniel's adventure teaches us that by paying attention to small details, interacting with people, and embracing challenges, we can improve both our language skills and our confidence. Remember, just like Daniel, listen every day. Speak bravely even if you make mistakes. Explore the world around you and discover stories everywhere. Your journey with English is a collection of moments, and every moment is an opportunity to learn and grow. Keep your notebook, keep your curiosity, and keep practicing. Thank you for joining Daniel on his journey. Don't forget to subscribe to Listen and Speak English Stories podcast for more immersive stories, listening practice, and English adventures. Share your favorite part of the story in the comments and start your own journey today. Until next time, keep listening, keep speaking, and keep discovering new stories.